All right, so unfortunately, this Roe v. Wade leak seems to have just demonstrated the collective ADD our society has. As I think most of us know, if Roe v. Wade is overturned, it just puts it to the states. People in California, New York, Illinois, Hawaii, Oregon, all those places, you are highly likely to keep your very lax abortion policies, whereas Alabama and Texas, you'll probably keep your highly restrictive abortion policies. Roe v. Wade being overturned doesn't inherently change much. The reason I think that's important to bring up is because there actually is some bad changes happening right now in society and our economy that have already had direct and quite substantial real impacts. I mean, we could talk about inflation, putting the screws to average everyday Americans, a ballooning debt, which is just a joke at this point, the looming dollar crisis, the massive housing bubble that'll burst and financially devastate a lot of people, the stock market that's been tumbling, because that's always been a huge bubble too. Food shortages, baby formula shortages, our insane foreign policy, fighting proxy wars, wasting billions of dollars. And not for nothing, I'm still pissed, and I haven't forgotten about how government annihilated huge numbers of small businesses with the stroke of a pen during the COVID hysteria. My blood still boils over this. It was disgusting, and we should have never let politicians off the hook for what they did. And it should be easy now, by the way, to put the screws to them, now that we know beyond any question how catastrophic lockdowns were on the economy, on mental health, on societal bonds, all with negligible benefits at best, and even that's being way too generous. And this was all obvious, but power-drunk politicians didn't care, didn't want to hear it. The authoritarianism was just too enticing. So they destroy an unbelievable number of people's livelihood. Sickening. Or how about the significant surge in suicides that came from all of that, that we're still experiencing now? How about the mass increase in drug abuse, alcohol abuse, domestic violence? How about all the kids with food insecurity issues now, or who have had their speech development delayed from the mask wearing, or how their developing minds being stunted from the lack of schooling or education, which, as far as public schools go, might not be the worst thing that a lot of them weren't there, but the negative ramifications of the constraints lockdowns put on kids are already being seen and likely will be felt for a while yet. We also, as we've talked about, have a misinformation board coming our way, which is straight out of 1984. And the government determining what is true or false. This should send shivers down everyone's spine. This should prompt severe pushback against the federal government. But no, why bother? In fact, huge number of U.S. citizens think it's a great idea. Unbelievable. They should just prepare themselves for a Trump-like figure in the next decade to then likely be holding the reins of that kind of power, of that kind of federal power, to be specific. That's the definition of shooting yourself in the foot, and they don't seem to realize that that's exactly what they're doing. But regardless, forget all that. Abortion going to the states, that's what's going to rile people up. It's too obvious that this is just a distraction, especially for the Democrats. They know full well that they have implemented and overseen disastrous policies, and that's not to say Trump and the Republicans don't have a huge hand in that as well. But as far as Democrats are concerned, people were turning away from them, especially Joe Biden. Good grief, talk about the average Biden voter experiencing buyer's remorse. Well, this is a gift from the heavens to Biden and company. You probably saw Elizabeth Warren jumping into her stupid activist mode where she's screaming out in the streets after the leak. I don't believe for one second that Elizabeth Warren wasn't thrilled about this news. It's the perfect life raft for them and politicians like her. They might be able to grab onto it, and it really might carry them to the shore for the next election, because Lord knows their ship was sinking, and fast. So this is just theatrics. The Elizabeth Warrens of the world aren't concerned about this by one iota. This is a political tool, nothing more. It's a fantastic way to completely divert your attention from the abject failure that their political careers and their certainly most recent time in office has caused for the vast majority of Americans. But now they get to rest easy knowing that your attention has been diverted. So here's to hoping more people can see through it all. But anyway, that's all for now. Like, subscribe, share the video. It's extremely appreciated, and you take it easy.